Okay, good morning. So we're up to Reish Mem Gimel, a new simon. Reish Mem Gimel. Din hamaskir soda omerchatz le'ena Yehudi. This is talking about if you rent out your field or your bathhouse to a non-Jewish person, and the problem is that there's an issa of Amir L'Akum, there's Schar Shabbos, all these sort of things. So it's an interesting simon. Says the Mechaber, Lo yaskir odam merchatz shelo le'eni Yehudi. You can't rent out your bathhouse. You own a bathhouse. You can't rent it out for an eni Yehudi to operate it on your behalf. Because everyone knows it belongs to you. Ve'eni Yehudi zeh oiseh bei melacha b'Shabbos, and this non-Jewish person is doing melacha for you on Shabbos. The stam merchatz lav la'arisoso, because a stam merchatz is not operated by way of an arisa agreement. We'll see in the Mishnah what that means. Pirush Oros hu ha'ovid lekach chelek mimash yashpiach lebailov. He takes a portion of the schar of it. He does it for that. And people will think that at the end of the day the profit goes to the owner, who is the Yisrael. And he just rented it out for such and such a day. And people will mistakenly think that really the eni Yehudi is doing melacha as a shliach of the Yisrael. Avol soda is muta shekein derech lekabel soda barisus, because the arisus does work in the case of a soda. That's the normal way of doing it. And people will assume that there was an arisus arrangement in place. Now, what does this all mean? So take a look at the Mishnah Berurah. He has a very helpful hakdama. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Aleph lo yaskir da sheshloisha chilukim yesh. There are three areas here. Echod hu arisus. One is called an orus, an arisus. Sheseichel en Yehudi. Sheyas hamalocha b'soda b'merchatz. That this non-Jewish person rents out your field or your bathhouse. V'harvachim ha'peris yachleiku. And you divide the profits. That's an orus. So however you divide it. Yeah, you half, a third, 2/3, whatever it is. Hasheni hu schirus, that he actually just rents it out. She'en Yehudi noita kol harvachim. The eni Yehudi gets all the profits, Paris, all the income, the fruit of the field. For Noisin Yisrael, he just pays rent, whatever it is, £10,000 a year. But the actual income of whatever he earns is it all goes to the eni Yehudi. That's schira. Hashnei chilukim elu mutarim b'soda legamri. Now, both of these arrangements, whether it's arisus or whether it's chiras, is actually okay in the case of a soda, because you're not doing the work, you've rented it out. Either he takes a portion of the arisus, or he just pays you rent. Then actually halachically there's no problem there. Of a merchatz rak medina, but just in the case of a merchatz, the eni Yehudi adaited the nafshi of it, and with the merchatz rak medina, they're not in practice. And in the case of merchatz, Chazal forbade it because it looks a little bit like that he's doing it for you. Because the bathhouse is known to be you, the Jewish person's bathhouse. And people will think that he's just operating it on your behalf. To kablonis, the third option, which is something called kablonis, the hainu sheyu kol harvachim Yisrael, that the Yisrael gets the entire profit. Rak Yisrael nosin en Yehudi dover kotzav lechol shana avur pu'lasei. It's just that the Yisrael Rak Yisrael nosin en Yehudi dover kotzav lechol shana avur pu'lasei. He just pays him a certain amount. Zeu vadai also medina b'merchatz. That's certainly a problem in the case of merchatz. So let's say the Yisrael gives the eni Yehudi a fixed amount. He pays him £5,000 a year to operate this, and he gets all, and the Yisrael keeps all the profits. Dav eni Yehudi shluchas Yisrael. That's no good, because he's the shliach of Yisrael. Yisrael nena melecha Shabbos, and he's benefiting from melecha Shabbos. Tim lo yasi yemechot yafsed Yisrael revach yom. He's getting the revach of sort of day by day, and therefore, it's clear that he's getting all the benefits of this arrangement, and therefore that's not allowed. So again, we've got three categories of possible arrangements. One is schirus. That means that the eni Yehudi just pays you rent, and he gets all the profit. Or there's kablonis. There's arisus, which means he gets a share, half, a third, 2/3, or whatever. Both of those me'ikar din are okay, because really he's doing it adaita denafshe, the non-Jewish person is not doing it for the Israel, and there's no real problem over there. It's just that there's, in the case of merchatz, it's a maras ayin issue. Fine. And in the case of kablonos, there's a real problem, because he's just paying you, you're just paying him a fixed amount to work the field, but all the profits go to you. So then there's real problems. Okay, Valkain. If the minhag in your place is to have an arisus arrangements where you share the profits, then that's okay. There's no marasayin in that case, and therefore just like a soda is okay, also too the merchatz. Also, and therefore the arisus and the schirus would be fine, but the kablonis would not be. And it's all sort of lumped in together, and literally the Shabbos payment is swallowed into the chol payments, and therefore it's not clearly identifiable, and therefore it's okay. But if you're paying just for the Shabbos, then you've got a problem, even in the case of Sodeh. And it also becomes publicly known. That's the important Hagdama to that. So, with that understanding, we can reread the Mechaber and get better clarity. So the Mechaber begins and says, Lo yaskir adam merchatz shelo le'en Yehudi. You can't rent out your bathhouse to an Ein Yehudi mipnei shenikra al shemai. Fine. It says the Mishnah Berurah, merchatz sheloi, sifkot aleph, bein shebono ba'atza, whether it's you actually built it, or afilu kono, or you actually just bought it for yoshev ba, and then you lived in it or you owned it for nikra shmei olav, and it's known as Moshe's bathhouse. Beis le'en Yehudi for kol shkein Yisrael muma, and certainly you can't have this arrangement with a non-from Yisrael. The over nami mishum lifnei evelos is michshol, because the arrangement is causing him to do work on Shabbos. The tam zeh shaykh af besodeh b'chol dov, and that applies in all situations. What's the problem with the merchatz? Because it's called in your name. It says the Mishnah Berurah you've got in Gimel Pirush, the Medina shari laskir le'en Yehudi l'shon l'chodesh. Really, me'ikar din, you could rent out the bathhouse to the non-Jewish person for a year, for a month. Sheyitin lekach v'kach, he pays you rent, and he just keeps all the profit. Me'ikar din, that works. Bein yasik, bein Yehudi, bein lo yasikenu. V'chol ha'revach le'en Yehudi, all the profit is his. Because there's no problem with Schar Shabbos, because you've rented it out for a whole year. I get my annual rent, and the profits go to him. And therefore there's no problem of Amir La'akum for Schiras, because the non-Jewish person who's working this operation of the bathhouse, he's getting all the profits, and therefore he's doing it adaita denafshe, he's doing it for his own benefit. Even if it's only a share of the profit, like he gets 50% of the profit, let's say. Well, all his operation, all his work, he's doing it for his own benefit, and therefore he's not doing it for the Israel, like the Ramah is going to say at the end of the Sif. So therefore the whole issue of the merchatz is that it's marasayin. What's the problem? Shenikris al Shemosh Yisrael. It's known as this Jewish person's bathhouse. The Yom Rabrias, people will wrongly and mistakenly say that that this guy is a shliach of the Jewish owner, or it's a schir yom, he's just operating it on Shabbos and he's getting Shabbos earnings. That's the concern. But me'ikar din is actually okay. The Dafka continues in Mishnah Berurah, when do we say all of this? When he rents it out for a year or a month, that is actually okay, but there's a problem just to marasayin. But if you do daily rentals, he pays you, let's say, £10, $10 a day, then you've got a problem. Even true, the Ein Yehudi is doing it for his own benefit, because you are getting Schar Shabbos. That when we have marasayin problems, it's only a problem in a Jewish area. Where there's, but if it's out of a Jewish area, then you're going to be okay. Why? Because we said that the merchatz is a problem. The stam merchatz lav la risosa, because people don't normally use an oris arrangement for a merchatz, like we share the profits. Says the Mishnah Berurah you've gotten daled. Pirush to kosv la'alon the sode mutal askir mitam zeshis to barisos. With a field that people assume the normal arrangement is arisos, and they know that the non-Jewish person is doing it adaited nafshe. But you haven't got that permitting svara in the case of a merchatz, the ein derech litnei ba'arisos, because you don't normally have an arisos arrangement. And it's not really common to do that. Okay, so let's go back to the mechaber. So we said to stam merchatz lav risosa of it. For omri shekol revach shel Yisrael. V'soch en yudi bekach v'kach v'yom. V'nimtza she'en yudi oisem melacha b'shlichus shel Yisrael. People will mistakenly think that he's doing this. He's just a shliach of the Yisrael. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotten Hey b'shlichusay shel Yisrael. V'zeh is a gomer, and that is an absolute problem, because if he is going to be your agent doing it for you, you've got a problem. You can't tell a guy, a non-Jewish person, to do work for you on Shabbos. It doesn't say you don't do it. It's lo yeh oseh. Work should not be done for you. I.e., you can't get the non-Jewish person to do it for you. You actually have to protest against it. Now, in my one, I don't know if you've got it, but in the back, in footnote number 9, he just sets out the background for Amir La'akum. Why is it I can't tell a non-Jewish person to do work for me on Shabbos? I'm not doing the work. So I come back from shul on Shabbos morning and I have a non-Jewish help in the home, and I say, can you make me a scrambled egg? Well, what exactly is the problem with that? I'm not doing the malacha. So if in 9 he sets out that there are 3 reasons why Amir La'akum is a problem. The Rambam gives 1 and the Rashi gives 2 in different places. So no, I'll just read you number 9. This is in Hilchos Shabbos. Sheloi tehei Shabbos kala be'inei Yisrael. That's the Rambam's reason. It's like a zilzul Shabbos. If I go home after shul Shabbos morning and I get the non-Jewish person to scramble me an egg, that's a zilzul in Shabbos. Shabbos becomes a bit sort of flippant in my eyes. The Rashi gives a second reason, and this is in Avodah Zarah Tes Zayin Amud Aleph, Tes Vav Amud Aleph, sorry. She'osa lasas kein mishum v'daber dova. The problem is v'daber dova. The pasuk says in Novi, v'daber dova, that your speech on Shabbos should be different, and included in v'daber dova is that you can't actually say the words. You can't instruct a non-Jewish person to do this for you on Shabbos. It's caught by v'daber dova. And then in another place in Shabbos Kufnun Gimel, it says Mishum shenochra mechal Shabbos but Tzivi Yisrael nechshav keshlucha shel Yisrael. He's my extension. He's just acting on my behalf. And the Orach Chaim explains that even though we say ein shlichus l'nochri, however, because of the chumra of Shabbos, mikomrim l'chumra yesh shlichus l'nochri. L'chumra we do say yesh shlichus l'nochri. And therefore you've got 3 reasons. So number 1 is Shalei Kala Shabbos Kala Beinecha. Number 2 is V'daber Dova. And number 3 is Shlichus. Now, what's the nafkamina? So he says here, the Avnei Nezer sets out that you need both reasons of Rashi. Shari Latam Shal V'daber Dova. If it was just Daber Dova, Ein La Selek Shem L'Nochri B'Shabbos, it's only a problem to do that on Shabbos. But if I were to tell him on Friday, do me a favor, when I come back from shul tomorrow, scramble me an egg, that is not caught by V'daber Dova. It will be caught. That'll be okay. Well, if shlichus, then I've got a problem, because if shlichus means he's just an extension of me, my hand is stretched longer, and it's as if I'm scrambling the egg. So if it's mitam shlichus, then I've got a problem. So there are enough kaminas. That's why a lot of people speak about Amir La'akum. The enough kaminas between the 3 reasons. But the Maisa, those are the 3 reasons. Okay, let's carry on. Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotten Vav. We said that this is a problem specifically for. So we've got 3 arrangements. We've got schiras, arisas, and kablonis. Schiras and arisas lemaisa are okay, and kablonis is the problem. Again, schiras means what? That he's paying. He's paying you £10,000 for the annual rent, and then all the profits are his. Arisas is that you share it, and the reason why both of those are okay is because adaita is nafshe. Kablonis is that you're paying him £10,000, but the rest is all the profits of the Yisrael, and therefore he's doing it for the Yisrael. That's the problem. So be'etzem, schiras narisas is okay, and in the case of soda where there's no marasayin issues, we say it's mutter. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Kotten Vav, la skir in Yehudi b'dava kotzov, you have a fixed rent that he pays you, then there's no problem. After Nikras Namel Shmoi, even though people know it's Moshe's field, the Kol Mechubas Stama HaKashem Ba'alev Olav, everyone knows that. No one's going to be chayshish you that it's a schir yom, it's a daily rental, because the Mefarash Shekein Derech, etc. Because people know that they do it. People will assume it's an Arisas arrangement. Shari. Okay, good. Now, then the Mechaber carries on and says, what about other arrangements? What about a tanur? And what about Orach Chaim? You rent out your oven or your mill to a non-Jewish person. So says the Mechaber, v'tanur dinu kamerchatz, i.e. it's a problem because your shame is on it and therefore it's marasayin. Orach Chaim is dinei kesodeh. Says the Mishnah Berurah, the tanur lahaskit tanur le'efes, but for him to cook, to bake in, dinner kamerchatz. The tanur nami ein derech laskir within a barisas. You don't normally have an arisas arrangement with the tanur, and therefore you got a problem. Kamerchatz. The yachsh do like with merchatz. The yachsh the schiyom huetzlei. However, the Orach Chaim has got a dinner v'sodeh. Mishum the darka in a barisas kamei sodeh. The mill that you normally lend out like a field or rent out like a field. Lefichach laskir nami mutter. There'll be no problem. Uchudel. V'ayim beran mashma the main derech anshe yosem mokum litin Orach Chaim barisas. Dinner kamerchatz there. So if it's not the case, and you wouldn't normally, that is not the normal way of working in that country, in that community, then it would be also like a merchatz. The MS tolu b'chol yadorim lefi minhag hamdina. It depends on the actual practice. Bein lahokel, bein lahachmir, chudel kamer b'sif base. Okay, now let's just finish off this sif. It says the Ramah, v'afal pish lo lokcha ein Yehudi rak l'shlish revi. Even though the Ein Yehudi just took it for a third or a quarter, even a small amount, even if the lion's share of the arrangement is that the Yisrael gets the profit of 2/3 or 3/4, the Ein Yehudi it doesn't matter. It's okay because at the end of the day, the non-Jewish person is doing it. He's working for his own benefit, for his own share of the profit, even if it's a smallish amount. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Kotten Tes, v'afal pi. Asod of Orach Chaim koid the v'mechaber mayri b'schiras v'hu moisif the after arisas muta v'mechaber gam kein svir lei kein the mitam zeh hit b'schiras kanal elashu be'er behedges. Just explaining it explicitly. Okay, rak l'shlish the dafka b'zeh shenoisen lein Yehudi chelek b'tfur. He gives him a chelek aval im socha in Yehudi lavet by kol hashona v'sheyitla Yehudi kol hatfur me'asodeh. He gets all of it after medina b'zeh gam kein shari. Even though medin lemaisa is okay, the Ein Yehudi adaita nafshav because the guy is doing it lemaisa for himself. The afim lo yezabel havayachrish v'yiktzar asod b'Shabbos yochel asus b'chol, because he could do it weekday or mamar b'shvilatzman, he can speed up for his own benefit. Mikol mokum osa. Why? People might think is a schir yom, but lo yitlu ba'arisus, and they won't attribute it to an arisus arrangement. Kashir b'sof she'en lo shum chelik b'peres haaretz. Uchud lekama b'reish siman reish mem dalet. V'da the merchatz b'chei agavna. In a merchatz arrangement where he, let's say, rents it for a whole year, and the Yehudi gets all the profit of Shabbos, Medina also, that is also Medina. For who are din Orach Chaim both in so too with the Orach Chaim. That's only true in the case of a field where the non-Jewish person could do the work whenever he wants. Because then there's no revach for Yisrael that he does the work on Shabbos. That's his choice. He'll do it tomorrow, do it on Sunday or Monday. Then we say each day is a new profit. He just lost the profit of that day. Then clearly I'm doing this for the benefit of the Yisrael. The after mekabas schar lo amrina daita nafshe ovid. Hoyel v'nen and Yisrael meleches Shabbos. Fine. Va'afilu ataz the common b'simen reish mem dalet siv cotton hey the matzil aram near the also gam came b'zeh medina the regidas lahak bit aleni Yehudi b'shkemavatla eze yom. He's upset. Hey, where's today's profit? V'kimen the medina also afilu nisparsim sheschar l'shona. Gam hu chus tchum deimim shemar sa'ayin gam ken also ve'in hetze ki im heichad yesh le'in Yehudi ktsas chelek berevach hashabboses. It's got to be that the non-Jewish person has got some profit element from the Shabbos earnings. The ozamina like to nafshi of it. and then we can apply the whole svara, the whole hetz of adaita nafshe. Umutz Chaim gam bemerchatz u'mokum shenitzparsim adova or b'seif base, where it's very clear that it's okay. For kol shkein shemutza heichad shemoichel legamri b'chol erev Shabbos, and it would also be okay if he actually sells it to him on erev Shabbos, and therefore it's not his problem whatsoever. It's not the Yisrael's at all. Okay, so just to summarize, that there are three arrangements: schiras, arisis, and kablonis. The etzem schiras and arisis is no problem because the guy is doing it adaita denafshe, where either he actually just pays the rent to the Yisrael and then all the profits go to him. That's the schiras, or the arisis is they share it to half, a third, 2/3, or whatever. Again, the guy is doing it for his own benefit adaita denafshe, and therefore there's no problem. In merchatz, there's a problem with marasayin, but when it comes to kablonos, i.e., that he's actually paying the guy a fixed amount, but all the profit goes to Israel, then that's a problem. So that's Sif Aleph. Mishnah will do Sif Beis tomorrow.